Flight attendant Sharon Martinez stood over Congresswoman Maxine Waters, her tone sharp enough to cut through the stillness of the first-class cabin. "Ma'am, I need you to gather your belongings and move to the coach cabin where you're supposed to be seated." She gestured toward the back of the plane with a dismissive flick of her hand, the metal of her wedding ring catching the overhead lights. Maxine slowly lifted her eyes from the tablet in her lap, congressional briefing notes still glowing on the screen. Her boarding pass lay openly on the tray table, clearly marked First Class Seat 1A. Several passengers turned to watch. A white businessman in 3C smirked, phone already out as if he were expecting drama. The cabin fell silent except for the low hum of the air system. Sharon tapped the armrest. Impatiently, "We need this seat for someone who actually paid for it. Have you ever been humiliated publicly, yet remained calm because you knew your composure was your strongest weapon?" Maxine reached for her boarding pass again. The gold bracelet on her wrist caught the light as she extended the document toward Sharon for the third time. "As I said, this is my assigned seat. First class. Seat 1A. Sharon barely glanced at the ticket. Her eyes instead drifted over Maxine's tailored navy suit with thinly veiled doubt. "Sometimes the system makes errors. We need to confirm you weren't upgraded incorrectly." The businessman in 3C, Richard Hawthorne, according to his luggage tag, leaned forward and started recording. "This is exactly the problem," he muttered loudly. "People taking seats they didn't earn." Maxine's phone buzzed softly on the tray table. A message from her chief of staff. "Jet arranged if the commercial flight becomes an issue." Committee hearing rescheduled to 3 p.m. She silenced the alert, then returned her focus to Sharon. "I purchased this ticket yesterday at full price. I can show you the receipt if needed." "That won't be necessary," Sharon said loudly, her voice carrying across the half-empty cabin. Despite plenty of open seats, she acted as if Maxine's presence disturbed the natural order. Behind them, a teenager in 4B had started a TikTok live stream. Viewers climbed from 12 to 37, then more. Her whisper carried, "They're trying to kick a black woman out of first class for no reason." Richard stepped into the aisle with his phone still recording. "I fly more than 200,000 miles a year with this airline. I deserve a peaceful flight without this nonsense." Maxine opened her tablet, where a document titled U.S. House Budget Oversight Annual Travel Allocations momentarily flashed. She minimized it quickly before the numbers became obvious to anyone watching. Sharon called toward the front. "We have a situation in first class. Can someone come up? Departure in 15 minutes. A gate agent hurried down the aisle, followed by Officer Martinez, a security guard whose uniform strained against his midsection. "What's the issue?" the agent asked, though her attention was already fixed on Maxine. "This passenger is refusing to move to her assigned seat," Sharon complained, sounding absolutely certain of her version of events. Maxine's briefcase rested overhead, the official tag clearly reading, "I'm Waters, U.S. House of Representatives." Yet no one bothered to look. The gate agent scanned her tablet. "Ms. Waters, our system shows you purchased a coach ticket last night at 11:47 p.m. Maxine held up her phone and displayed the confirmation email. The timestamp matched, but the fare class displayed clearly, First F. "There seems to be a system error," she said calmly. Officer Martinez stepped closer, his radio buzzing. "Ma'am, we can sort this out quickly if you cooperate. Don't make this more difficult." The teenager's live stream jumped to 847 viewers. Comments flooded in. "This is racist. Why are they bothering her? She probably didn't pay for first class. Typical discrimination. Flight departure. 12 minutes. Richard angled his phone for a better shot, capturing Maxine's composed expression as more staff surrounded her. Finally, he said for his recording. Someone enforcing the rules. A business traveler in 2C started typing a tweet. Watching airline staff harass Congresswoman Maxine Waters in first class. This is 22.5. Maxine remained still, hands folded in her lap. Her wedding band glinted as she sipped her now cold coffee. Sharon whispered to the gate agent, who began tapping her tablet more urgently. Ms. Waters, the gate agent said, policy allows us to reseat passengers when discrepancies appear. We have very nice seats available in premium economy. There is no discrepancy, Maxine replied evenly. I am already in the seat I purchased. The live stream ticked up to 1,200 viewers. 3. Airline employees and one security officer now surrounded her. Seat. Officer Martinez's radio crackled again. Flight 447, we're showing a delay. What's going on? Ma'am, he said more sternly, either walk off on your own, or we'll remove you. Richard's phone captured every detail, the steady posture, the calm eyes, the quiet confidence. Maxine scrolled through her contacts. At the top, Mitchell Stevens, CEO. Aerotech Airlines. Flight departure. 10 minutes. Her thumb hovered over the call button. The staff circled around her, unaware of what that single call could mean. Captain Reynolds' voice carried a sharper urgency now. Folks, we need an immediate resolution. Ground control is warning us they'll reassign our takeoff slot. The gate supervisor's radio crackled. Flight 447. You have 60 seconds before we close the door and move to the next departure. Officer Martinez shifted his hand toward his radio. Ma'am, final warning. Walk off the aircraft now, or we will have to remove you physically. The live stream jumped to 8,900 viewers, screenshots already circulating on multiple platforms. #Flight Drama began trending within minutes. Maxine Waters looked around the cabin one more time. Her eyes briefly met every person watching her. Sharon, Janet, Officer Martinez, Richard still recording. The teenager live streaming, the businessman typing furiously on Twitter. Then Maxine pressed call. The phone rang once, twice. A familiar voice answered on the third ring. Maxine? How's the committee review going? Maxine smiled, then tapped the speaker icon. The voice filled the entire first-class cabin warm, steady, unmistakable. Maxine, how's the committee review going? Every face in the circle froze. Sharon's hand stopped in midair. Officer Martinez's radio slid awkwardly in his grip. Janet Morrison let her policy manual hang at her side like a script from a play that had suddenly changed direction. Well? Mitchell, Maxine said evenly, adjusting her blazer with one hand as she held the phone with the other. I'm sitting on your flight 447, first class. Seat 1A, having a rather interesting discussion with your staff about customer service procedures. The name hit the cabin like a shockwave. Mitchell Stevens, CEO, Aerotech Airlines. The signature behind every employee policy, every corporate directive, every quarterly update they had ever received. Richard's phone shook in his hand. Still recording, now capturing his own confusion. The teenager's live stream soared to 12,000 viewers as comments exploded. Someone had quickly searched the name. Oh my God, that's the airline CEO. He literally called the top boss. Whole plot twist just dropped. Maxine. Mitchell's voice came through the speaker with clear familiarity. I wasn't expecting your call until after your hearing this afternoon. How's the flight treating you? Sharon's face drained completely, her complexion fading from olive to a washed-out gray. She stepped backward, bumping into Janet, who looked like she had just seen a ghost appear in the aisle. That's an interesting question. Mitchell, Maxine replied, her tone steady and conversational, as if discussing routine committee matters. Your staff is attempting to remove me from first class. They seem convinced I don't belong in the seat I paid for last night with my own government travel card." A long, heavy pause followed, the kind that signaled a corporate problem unfolding in real time. Then Mitchell spoke again, his tone noticeably colder. Mitchell's tone shifted, carrying the controlled sharpness of a CEO who had built an airline empire. "I'm sorry." "What did you just say?" Captain Reynolds stepped forward, his 4 decades in aviation alerting him to the danger brewing in the cabin. He could sense the shift in power immediately. This conversation was about to change everything. "Put me on with whoever's in charge there, Maxine." Sharon tried to step back, but the narrow aisle boxed her in. The walls felt as if they were closing around her as she realized she'd created a problem far bigger than she understood. "Mitchell," Maxine said calmly. "Meet Sharon Martinez, employee ID 4471. She's the flight attendant who told me to gather my belongings and move to coach where I belong." Her exact words. "And several passengers have recordings." The silence from the phone stretched thin, heavy and unavoidable. When Mitchell finally spoke, his voice carried the icy authority of a CEO who had dismissed senior leaders for far smaller issues. "Ms. Martinez, this is Mitchell Stevens, your CEO. Are you there?" Sharon's mouth opened shut, then opened again. For a moment, she couldn't form a single sound. Finally, she forced out a strained whisper. "Yes. Yes, Mr. Stevens. There's been a terrible misunderstanding." "Explain the misunderstanding." "In detail." The teenager's live stream captured everything in crisp resolution. She no longer needed commentary. The scene unfolding spoke for itself. Over 15,000 viewers watched a corporate disaster happen in real time. The passenger. Sharon began, her voice cracking. "Ms. Waters, the system showed. We thought there was an error with the seating." "Ms. Martinez," Mitchell cut in, his voice precise and calm in a way that was far more intimidating than anger. "Are you telling me that you attempted to remove one of our highest-profile government clients from a first-class seat she paid for in full?" The words hit the cabin like a controlled detonation. Highest profile. Government client. Richard's phone captured everything. The moment Sharon's knees weakened, Officer Martinez stepping back instinctively, passengers collectively inhaling as they realized they were witnessing corporate history. "Mr. Stevens." Captain Reynolds tried, attempting to salvage the situation. "This is Captain Reynolds. Perhaps we can resolve this quietly and move forward." "Captain Reynolds, is it?" Mitchell replied sharply. "Tell me, what is the current status of Ms. Waters? Is she still surrounded by my staff as if she has committed a crime?" The captain glanced around at the circle of employees who, only moments earlier, had been preparing to forcefully remove Maxine. Well, there were questions raised about her ticket validity. Maxine reached for her leather briefcase with controlled movements, like someone preparing documentation they knew would be decisive. She slid out a slim portfolio embossed with the Aerotech Airlines corporate seal. "Mitchell," she said evenly, "should I show them the Waters Advisory Group travel contract? The one we renewed last month?" Another pause, then the quiet sound of a CEO pulling up digital files. "Yes, Ms. Waters, the one we renewed last month. The $127 million annual agreement that makes your office one of our airline's most significant government partners." The figure hit the room with force. $127 million per year. The teenager's live stream exploded. 127 million? She's not just important, she's important. This woman basically funds the airline. This is the plot twist. The business traveler in 2C stopped typing his viral thread mid-sentence, staring at Maxine with new respect. Richard's recording trembled as reality reset itself. The woman he assumed didn't belong had more value to the company than he could ever imagine. Janet Morrison. Gate supervisor, Mitchell continued, his voice now as controlled as a legal briefing. I assume you are present with your policy manual. Janet clutched the thick manual against her chest like protection. Yes, Mr. Stevens. I was reviewing procedures. Which procedure authorizes removing a passenger from a seat they purchased at full price? Section 12.4 allows crew discretion in disputed seating. Section 12.4 applies to genuine disputes. Is there a legitimate dispute about Ms. Waters' seat? Maxine held up her boarding pass so the teenager's camera could capture it clearly. First F seat 1A. No dispute. Maxine said calmly. Seat 1A first class. Purchased yesterday at 11:47 p.m. Full fare, $3,247. No upgrades. The teenager's battery hit 8%, but she kept filming like her life depended on it. This was the kind of footage that built entire careers. Officer Martinez's radio crackled urgently. A voice from dispatch called out, Unit 7, status update on the first-class removal? Do you need backup units? Officer Martinez glanced at his radio, then at Maxine Waters, then at the phone transmitting the CEO's voice to the cabin and 18,000 online viewers. Dispatch. Situation has evolved significantly. Stand by for further instructions. Evolved how, Unit 7? Martinez asked, searching for words that wouldn't end his career. Mitchell Stevens' voice filled the cabin with corporate precision. Let me clarify for everyone here and our online audience. Maxine Waters is the CEO of Waters Advisory Group, our largest and most valued government client. Her company accounts for 23% of Aerotech Airlines' total annual revenue, $127 million out of $552 million. The teenager whispered excitedly to her viewers, y'all. She just played the ultimate reverse card. The CEO himself is explaining why this passenger is untouchable. Richard's phone captured his own face, dawning realization slowly replacing the smug smirk he'd worn while recording. The troublemaker he had been documenting was the airline's golden goose. Mitchell continued, voice firm like a prosecuting attorney laying out evidence. Ms. Waters sits on our customer advisory board. She has personally consulted on first-class service improvements, corporate travel policies, and customer experience initiatives. She helped design the very services your staff has been denying her. Sharon looked ready to collapse. The irony crushed her. The woman she had been lecturing and attempting to remove was responsible for the policies Sharon claimed to enforce. Mitchell's tone sharpened further. Waters Advisory Group employs 847 people flying our routes monthly, generating over 12,400 individual flight segments annually. That's more than 200 flights per week. Year-round. Passengers mentally calculated, realizing Maxine's company alone likely funded multiple aircraft in Aerotech's fleet. Mitchell's voice now carried the cold edge of a CEO watching his company's reputation unravel. I want to understand how my staff decided our most important client did not belong in first class. Captain Reynolds tried to intervene. Mr. Stevens, I'm confident this is just a miscommunication and poor judgment. We can resolve it through proper channels. Captain, I'm reviewing security footage. I see 6 airline employees surrounding Ms. Waters' seat like she's a security threat. A security officer has hand on radio, preparing to call backup. There is no valid justification for this confrontation. The live stream had reached 22,000 viewers and climbing. Screenshots spread across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. #AirlineShame was trending nationally. News outlets were picking up the story. A PR disaster was unfolding live. Maxine leaned back, calm and collected, like a chess master announcing checkmate. She had timed her moves perfectly, revealing her position at maximum tension. "Mitchell," she said, "there's one more thing you should know about this situation." "What's that, Maxine?" "The entire incident has been live-streamed to over 22,000 viewers. It's being recorded from multiple angles by several passengers. Your brand is trending on social media and not positively." A pause followed the silent hum of corporate crisis management being activated. When Mitchell spoke again, his tone carried the weight of a CEO watching stock prices and reputation hang on a single decision. "Ms. Martinez." "Officer Martinez, Ms. Morrison, you are all suspended without pay. Effective immediately, pending a full investigation. Captain Reynolds, ensure Ms. Waters receives exemplary service for the remainder of the flight." Sharon's knees finally gave out. She grabbed a seat back, her career crashing around her. Mitchell continued, voice calm and precise. "I am authorizing immediate compensation for this incident. Ms. Waters, we'll discuss remedies privately, but this matter will be addressed at the highest levels." The teenager's phone finally died, but not before capturing Sharon's stunned reaction. She had gone from flight attendant to suspended employee in a single phone call. Richard had stopped recording entirely, unsuccessfully attempting to delete his commentary. The woman he publicly shamed could destroy careers with one call. "One final thing," Maxine said, her voice steady throughout the confrontation. "Our annual corporate travel contract renewal meeting is next Tuesday. I expect some very interesting topics to be discussed." The unspoken weight hung in the air. $127 million in annual revenue, 23% of the airline's total corporate business, now potentially tied to the next few decisions. Mitchell responded with controlled precision. "Maxine, I'll call you personally within the hour. This will be addressed at the executive level, and there will be consequences." "I look forward to that conversation, Mitchell," Maxine said, slipping her phone back into her jacket with the satisfaction of someone delivering a masterclass in strategic control. The cabin fell silent, except for the hum of air conditioning and the distant roar of engines. Faces around her reflected shock and disbelief. Sharon, fighting back tears of devastation. Officer Martinez, staring at his radio in disbelief. Janet Morrison, clutching a useless policy manual. Richard, frantically trying to delete social media posts. The teenager, holding her dead phone, which had just captured history. Maxine opened her laptop with casual precision. "Now then," she said, "I have a flight to catch and a board meeting to prepare for." The airline staff began to disperse, each realizing they had just witnessed a masterclass in quiet corporate power. Maxine Waters didn't just hold her ground, she owned the room, the airline, and the situation. All without raising her voice. Flight departure, delayed indefinitely. Pending resolution. Within minutes, Maxine's phone buzzed again. Caller ID, Mitchell Stevens, CEO, direct line. She answered on speaker, and the remaining passengers leaned forward, aware they were witnessing corporate history unfold in real time. "Maxine," Mitchell began, "I've reviewed security footage with legal and operations. What I saw is absolutely unacceptable. Before discussing remedies, I need the full scope of this incident." Maxine opened her laptop and displayed a slide titled Q4 Corporate Travel Analysis. The screen showed charts and graphs, presenting serious financial data clearly visible even to nearby passengers. "Let's talk numbers." Maxine said, "Waters Advisory Group generated $127,483,000 in revenue for Aerotech in the past 12 months. That represents 23.1% of your corporate travel segment, which accounts for 41% of total revenue. The precision of the figures rippled through the cabin. This was not emotional manipulation, it was corporate strategy with hard data. Your staff just attempted to forcibly remove the chairman of a company that supports 1,247 aerotech jobs. Should I continue? Yes, please do, Mitchell said, his voice tight with the realization of how close the airline had come to corporate disaster. Maxine clicked to the next slide. Our 847 employees averaged 14.6 flights each last year, with premium class bookings making up 73% of all segments. Average ticket price, $1,847 per flight. We are not just your largest client. We are your most profitable per passenger demographic. Richard, still holding his now-dead phone, felt the numbers crush his earlier certainty. He had been rooting for the removal of someone whose company likely paid more in airline fees annually than he earned in salary. The teenager's phone had died, but other passengers continued documenting the event. A businesswoman in 3D started live streaming on Instagram, her 400 followers rapidly growing as word spread about the corporate showdown at 30,000 feet. Maxine advanced to a pie chart displaying Aerotech's competitive landscape. Our current contract expires December 31st. Our renewal meeting is Tuesday, where we will select our primary airline partner for the next 3 years. She paused, letting the weight of her next point settle. Delta has submitted a proposal 12% below your current rates. United is offering 15% off plus dedicated corporate concierge services. JetBlue proposed a 20% flat reduction with guaranteed first-class availability for all executive seats. The silence stretched. Everyone understood the competitive intelligence being shared could reshape the airline industry. But price was never our primary consideration, Maxine continued calmly, holding all the cards. Corporate culture alignment was. We chose Aerotech because your diversity and inclusion initiatives matched our company values. The irony was sharp. They nearly lost their largest client, not over money, but over the very values the client had hired them to uphold. Mitchell's voice returned, strained. Maxine, what do you need from us to make this right? Maxine clicked to her final slide. Systemic change requirements. The presentation was pre-planned. This was strategy, not improvisation. First, implement immediate bias reporting protocols. Every discrimination incident must be documented and tracked at the corporate level, not buried locally. Sharon, still in the jump seat, visibly flinched. Second, mandatory monthly bias training for all customer-facing staff. Not annual workshops, monthly measurable assessments with employment consequences for failure. Janet Morrison's manual suddenly felt obsolete. Third, executive accountability metrics. VP bonuses tied to inclusion performance. Spikes in discrimination incidents reduce compensation. The love-streaming businesswoman whispered, "This woman is rewriting airline policy in real time." This is real power. Fourth, passenger dignity app. Real-time reporting of discrimination incidents, automatic escalation to headquarters, and legal review within 24 hours. Maxine's phone buzzed a text from her family. Everything okay? She smiled and replied, running a bit late. Teaching a master class. Love you. Fifth, $100,000 annual donation to civil rights organizations, focused on transportation equity, ongoing, not a one-time gesture. Mitchell, voice respectful but resigned. These are comprehensive requirements. Sixth, anti-discrimination clauses in all corporate travel contracts. Clients experiencing bias can terminate without penalty. Seventh, quarterly public reporting of bias incidents published alongside safety records. Officer Martinez realized the industry was being transformed by someone who never raised her voice. 8th, immediate board-level review of today's incident to determine how a company claiming diversity came within minutes of forcibly removing its largest minority-owned corporate client. The precision of Maxine's approach revealed her power. This was not reactionary. It was strategic, data-driven corporate restructuring. Mitchell responded after a long pause. These requirements are significant operational and financial commitments. They are the cost of keeping a $127 million account. Maxine remained calm. The alternative is explaining to shareholders why nearly a quarter of corporate revenue was lost because staff couldn't respect a black executive in first class. The phrase hung in the air like a verdict. Every passenger understood they had witnessed systemic change begin in real time. Your stock is down 3% since the story went viral, Maxine added, consulting her phone. #airline shame has 47,000 mentions in the past hour. Your crisis team is probably calculating PR damage now, but systemic change creates positive press, she continued. Companies leading on inclusion see stock rises averaging 12% over 3 years. Turn today's crisis into tomorrow's advantage. Mitchell's voice softened with respect. What's your timeline for implementation? Maxine outlined it clearly. Bias reporting system launches within 30 days. Training begins immediately for all employees involved. Executive accountability included in Q1 performance reviews. $100,000 annual donation within 60 days with quarterly transparency reports. Renewal of Aerotech's 3-year contract at current rates with a 15% increase in annual volume. The reversal was complete. Potential contract termination became expansion, contingent on systemic corporate change. Staff involved? Sharon received suspension with required bias training and cultural competency certification. Reinstatement contingent on demonstrated behavioral change punishment with redemption. Full agreement? Mitchell asked. Full agreement. Signed commitment documents before landing 2 hours for your legal team. Maxine ended the call, calm certainty in every movement. Humiliation had become transformation. Corporate policy was rewritten at 35,000 feet by someone who understood true power lay in systemic change, not domination. 2 hours later, Flight 447 approached its destination. Maxine received the signed agreements from Mitchell Stevens. Her orchestrated strategic transformation was complete. Passengers had witnessed a corporate case study in accountability, real change delivered through economic leverage. Captain Reynolds made an announcement. We are beginning our descent. Apologies for any delay. Sharon, still present, approached Maxine. I don't know what to say. Say you'll do the work. Learn from this, Maxine replied. I will, I promise. The teenager who live-streamed the event asked, what should people do when they see discrimination? Document it. Speak up if safe. Real change comes through sustained pressure, not viral moments, Maxine advised. Richard approached after deplaning. I owe you an apology. I didn't realize my prejudices. Acknowledgement matters, Maxine replied. What matters is what you do with that awareness. 6 months later, Aerotech's Dignity in Flight initiative became the industry gold standard. Bias reporting app launched, documenting 127 complaints in the first quarter. Monthly bias training mandatory for all 23,000 employees. Sharon completed training, became a top advocate for inclusive service. VP accountability metrics enforced. 3 regional VPs lost bonuses. Discrimination complaints dropped 78% in 6 months. Williams Holdings renewed contract with 15% increased volume. Customer satisfaction rose from 74% to 89%. Minority Traveler NPS increased 34 points. Aerotech stock rose 14% within a year. $100,000 annual donation funded transportation equity programs in 12 cities. Industry-wide impact. Federal regulations now require quarterly bias reporting for airlines. Anti-discrimination clauses became standard in corporate travel contracts. Other airlines implemented similar programs. Competitors raced to demonstrate inclusive service. Harvard Business School created a case study, Economic Leverage and Social Change, the Flight 447 model, personal impact. Officer Martinez transitioned to customer service training. Janet Morrison promoted to lead corporate inclusion office. Captain Reynolds advocated for pilot diversity programs. Richard became a diversity officer, speaking publicly on unconscious bias. Maxine's strategy proved dignity is non-negotiable, and systemic change is achievable through economic leverage and strategic patience, not confrontation. Corporate and personal transformations became lasting, measurable, and industry-wide. Flight 447 turned from humiliation to hope.